Now, of course, with this atmosphere being created now, for sure, Uthman radiallahu anhu is one of the rightly guided khulafa. He's going to want to make sure if the situations in the cities, in the capitals, are as they claim in these letters. So he sends what we refer to as the fact-finding delegation. He sends a delegation to the cities and to see if these claims are unfounded or not. And of course, when these complaints came, he gathered all the Sahaba and he discussed with them, what should we do with these complaints? And Talha radiallahu anhu suggested that a delegation should be sent to different provinces to find out the real facts behind the disturbances, if there is anything worth complaining about. And so the delegations were sent. Muhammad ibn Maslama radiallahu anhu was sent to Al-Kufa. Usama ibn Zayd was sent to Basra. And Ammar ibn Yasir sent to Egypt. And Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhuma was sent to Syria, to Sham, the area. And some of the other companions were sent to other provinces to investigate the reasons behind these disturbances. And apart from that, Uthman also sends a letter to be circulated all around the country. And he says in it, and we have it, it's been preserved in the books of history. He says, amongst the letter, he says, I always hear the complaints of my governors and high officials at the time of Hajj, and decides the matter there and then. But despite of that, I have been told that some of the governors and high officials mistreat and manhandle certain persons without any sound reason. I therefore hereby announce that any person who had any complaint against any of my governors or high official should report to me at the Hajj pilgrimage. And I'll do the justice, and the oppressed people will be compensated, and the oppressors will be taken to task. And he also offers them that I'm going to pay for your Hajj trip. You take the trip down to Hajj just to complain to me of one of my officials, I'm going to pay for your trip, and I'm going to bring justice to you and compensate you if you're oppressed. So then all the investigators of the delegations that were sent to Kufa and Basra and Egypt and the Sham, they returned, and their reports were that none of the governors were found guilty of any evil act or excesses in behavior or in spending, and all of them were carrying out their duties within the bounds of the Sharia. This is the result of the fact-finding delegation. So we wonder at those people who take the side of the people of Fitna and say, yes, Uthman was doing things that were unfair. This is a delegation, they come back and they say that nothing of that sort was going on. So then the people of Medina were happy to receive these reports, and everyone was satisfied. So then they start to, and there are many accusations. So one of them is that they started to accuse him of giving the wealth from the treasury of the Muslims to his family. And when he heard that, that bothered him. And he gathered people, including the people of Fitna. This is later on when they come into Medina. And he tells them, he asks the people who are sitting there, I ask you by Allah, who amongst you witnessed Tabuk, the battle of Tabuk? And we mentioned this before. And this was like 35 years ago now. So there were a few people who were there who witnessed it. So some people said, we have witnessed it. And then he tells them, do you witness that the Prophet ﷺ said about him for preparing the army of Tabuk? And then he says to them that the well of Roma, that he bought it from his personal wealth, and the Prophet ﷺ gave him glad tidings of a spring in paradise. And the people said, yes, we have witnessed that. And then he tells them that I spend, because now, what's happening here? When they accuse him now of stealing from Bayt al-Mal and giving to his relatives, this upset him. So he gets up and gives this talk, saying, didn't you hear what the Prophet ﷺ said about me at Tabuk? Did you hear what the Prophet ﷺ said about me when I bought the well of Roma? And now, these people are saying that I'm giving Bani Umayyah from the treasury of the Muslims, but he says that I give them money from my personal wealth. Wallahi, I never took a thing from the money of the Muslims. And he used to give generously, because we said he was a very wealthy merchant, so he used to give in the thousands to his family. And he explains that he's an old man, and he was 83 years old, and he had much wealth, so why not spend it on his wealth on his own family? And when people said that Umar used to be harsh on his relatives, the man responds saying, verily Umar did that seeking to be close to Allah. When Umar was being harsh on his family, he was doing that for the sake of Allah, so as not to show favoritism. And then Uthman radiallahu anhu says, and I do this seeking closeness to Allah. Taking care of my family, seeking closeness to Allah. And both of them are correct. You can't say that this is the only way to adopt. You can do it either way. So he's saying, I'm seeking closeness to Allah through spending upon my family. One of the other accusations was that they were saying he used to favor his relatives and put them in places of government. And he gives them an example. He says, Muhammad ibn Hudayfa was like a son to me. And he wanted to be appointed to a post, but I refused to do so because I did not consider him fit to bear such responsibility. So when he would put people from Bani Umayyah as governors in cities, he would put people whom he felt were capable or qualified. And some people were actually already there. When Uthman radiallahu anh became the Khalifa, they were already in these posts, so Uthman didn't put them there. So he's explaining that he only puts people whom he feels are capable of being in that position. So now we want to look at the events of the 34th year after the Hijrah, which is when the Fitan start. And Uthman ibn Affan ordered that all the governors come to meet him in Medina after Hajj for consultations. This is the 34th year after the Hijrah. So he starts to consult people what they think they should do. Abdullah ibn Amr suggested that although these people should be taken and they should be made to engage in activities of jihad, just to fill the free time and have them busy with going out and fighting in jihad. Take them in the areas where there's jihad going on. And this is the consultation. Then Sa'id ibn al-As radiallahu anhu suggested that the leaders of these troublemakers should be taken and punished, and that would scare away everyone else, all the followers. This was the opinion of Sa'id ibn al-As radiallahu anhu. And then Muawiyah radiallahu anhu suggested that the governors of each province should make sure they just clear their province of their existence. And then Abdullah ibn Sa'ad suggested that all of them are greedy and that they could just be subdued by giving them some money and some wealth and they'll stay quiet. And some actually suggested that they should be put to death. Just grab them and just kill them. But Uthman radiallahu anhu disagreed. He said that he could not punish people unless to the limits prescribed by the Quran. He couldn't just punish people and kill them like that. And just to show you how the lay person, the normal person, was so affected by these rumors and the misinformation that was spreading, we have this narration in Sahih al-Bukhari where an Egyptian man, meaning a man from Misr, from Egypt, comes. He came to perform the Hajj to the Kaaba and saw people sitting there. So he asked, who are these people? And then someone said, they are the tribe of Quraysh. So the man asked, who is the old man sitting amongst them? And the people replied, he is Abdullah ibn Umar. And he said, O Ibn Umar. So he comes to him, O Ibn Umar, I want to ask you about something. Please tell me about it. Do you know that Uthman fled away on the day of the Battle of Uhud? And Ibn Umar said, yes. And then the Egyptian man, the man said, do you know that Uthman was absent on the day of the Battle of Badr and did not join it? Ibn Umar said, yes. And the man said, do you know that he failed to attend the pledge of Ridwan and did not witness it? And Ibn Umar said, yes. And the man said, Allahu Akbar. So khalas, now we have the evidence against him. Even scholars like Ibn Umar are saying this is true. So then Ibn Umar says to him, let me explain to you all these things. As for his flight, meaning fleeing on the day of Uhud, I testify that Allah excused him and has forgiven him. This is the ayah where Allah revealed that He has forgiven those who ran away at Uhud. And as for absence from the Battle of Badr, it was due to the fact that the daughter of Allah's Messenger ﷺ was his wife and was sick then. And Allah's Messenger said to him, you will receive the same reward and the share, meaning the spoils of war, as anyone of those who participated in the battle. If you stay with her, you'll get the same reward. And as for his absence from the pledge of Ridwan, had there been any person in Mecca more respectable than Uthman to be sent to represent the Muslims, Allah's Messenger would have sent him instead. No doubt Allah's Messenger had sent him, and the incident of Ridwan, and the pledge of Ridwan, happened after Uthman had gone into Mecca. And Allah's Apostle, Allah's Prophet, held out his hand, saying, this is Uthman's hand, and he put his other hand in it, saying, this pledge is on behalf of Uthman. And then Ibn Umar said to the man, bear these excuses in mind with you. But it just shows you, this narration shows you how much people were affected by the news that was spreading and the atmosphere that was being created by the people of Fitna. Now, Ibn Sabah's group and the people of Fitna, their numbers had grown. They had large numbers now. And they had grown in strength. So they agreed to meet in Medina in Shawwal in the 35th year after the Hijrah. And Ibn al-Arabi says, describing the people in this group, he says some of them had the punishment prescribed upon them by Uthman. So these people transgressed, and Uthman had whatever the prescribed punishment was, they were dealt with in that manner. And he gives examples. Saudan ibn Hamran, he had married a woman during her waiting period. And this is not permissible. So Uthman separated them. He forced him to divorce her. And he punished him. And this upset him. So Uthman didn't do anything wrong here. He did something wrong. But this upsets him. So he comes out with the people of Fitna. Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. Ibn Abi Bakr as-Siddiq. He was also punished by Uthman for something that he transgressed. And this upset him also. When he had done a sin, Uthman punished him for it. And now he joins the people of Fitna. Others were people who hated the religion, such as Abdullah ibn Saba. And he spearheaded the Fitna. And there were people who were known to be thieves. We mentioned Hakim ibn Jabala, who is known to be a highway robber. Now there is Kumail ibn Ziyad, and he is a thief, and he was known. The Muslims knew he was a thief, but they couldn't prove it. So Kumail ibn Ziyad, when he hears of the movement, he joins it as well. And all of them had collectively agreed that they're going to remove Uthman from the Khilafah. But they had not agreed on who's going to be in his place. So they would say that, that he did not join the Battle of Badr, that he ran away on Uhud, he did not pledge in Radwan. And so why have him as the Khalifa? And there were people amongst us today who have not run away from Uhud and who witnessed Badr and who were there at the pledge of Radwan. So this is what they're saying, that there are better people to be the Khulafa besides Uthman. And they're saying that he spends on his relatives and he gives them from the treasury of the Muslims and he puts them in leadership positions. So the people of the Fitna, when they gathered and they decided to meet in Medina. So how did they come out without being caught and without being recognized as an army advancing to Medina? They disguised themselves as Hujjaj, as if they're going for Hajj. So the group in Egypt, Sayf ibn Amr al-Dabbi, is the narrator. He says when it was Shawwal in the 35th year after the Hijrah, the people of Egypt came out with the Hujjaj, as if they're going for Hajj, but stopped at Medina and let the other people go on their way to Mecca. They came out as if they were Hujjaj in 4 groups, under 4 amirs. So they were very organized. And the maximum narration says that there were 1,000 people. And the least of these narrations is that there were 600. And at the head of one group was Abdurrahman ibn Udais al-Balawi. And at the head of another group was Saudan ibn Humran. And another was Qutayla. And in charge of the entire group of Egypt was Al-Ghafiqi ibn Harb. This is the group of Egypt. The group of Kufa, that came out from Al-Kufa, they came into 4 groups also. And they had the amirs, and we know the names of their amirs. Zayd ibn Sahwan al-Abdi, and Al-Ashtar al-Nukha'i, and we said we're going to hear this name many times. And Abdullah ibn al-Asam from Bani Amr, and Zayd ibn Nadr al-Harithi. And their number was equal to the number of those in Egypt, meaning anywhere from 600 to 1,000. And in charge of the entire group, Amr ibn al-Asam was in charge. And the group of Basra then also came out in 4 groups. And they were Hukaym ibn Jabal al-Abdi, who was Hukaym ibn Jabal, the highway robber we spoke about. And the emir of the entire group was Al-Hurqus ibn Zuhair al-Sa'di. And they head out from Basra. All of them wanted to remove Uthman, but they could not decide on who was going to be the Khalifa after Uthman radiallahu anhu. So they come and they camped outside of Medina, and they sent some people into Medina to see what the atmosphere was in Medina. Are they going to be able to gather some support from inside Medina? Are the people of Medina against Uthman, or do they support Uthman? So they sent people to speak to Ammar ibn Yasir in particular. Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu, it wasn't that he was of those who revolted against Uthman, but he made some observations on how Uthman was running. I mean, we won't expect that all the Sahaba will be pleased with everything that any Khalifa does. There will be some flaws, and Ammar ibn Yasir radiallahu anhu made these observations. So they felt perhaps Ammar would be on their side. So they went in to see what the atmosphere was in Medina, and they found that they're not going to get any support in Medina. So they camped right outside of Medina. The Sahaba, they heard the news of this camp, that they're outside and they're going to attack Medina. So Ali radiallahu anhu and Talha and Zubair, they took arms and they said, if you enter Medina, we're going to meet you with our weapons. You can't enter. So the people of Fitna lost hope. They didn't want to find such resistance, to encounter resistance. So they said that it's over. Al-Ashtar al-Nukhai and others who were with him, the people of Fitna, said it's over and we're going to return. So when they return, people of Medina said, okay, they're gone. We can put our weapons away. And they put their weapons away and they consider this camp, this army now has left. They're going on their way back. Suddenly at night, people of Fitna come and they fill the streets of Medina and they're yelling and they have their swords out and they're saying, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, they're making takbir, and they just controlled the city. So what they did, they caught the Sahaba off guard. They put their weapons away and they come back again. There is a narration here that we're going to mention. And this narration, it seems, and Allah knows best, is the excuse they made for their sudden return. But sometimes you find books mention it as one of the actual reasons, or something that actually happened. They said that after 3 nights of journeying, they found, this is a story related by the people of Fitna. Because when they came back with their swords out and they controlled Medina, they said the Sahaba can't bear any swords or any weapons. No one can carry weapons except them. And they're in control. Ali asked them, what brings you back? You left. Because in the other narration, they came and they complained. When they found the Sahaba took their weapons and they stopped them from entering Medina, they said, we didn't come to fight. We just want to complain from one of the governors. So they told them, okay, we'll remove him. Who do you want in his place? They said, we want Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr in his place to be the governor of Egypt. So they said, okay, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr is the governor of Egypt. Go, remove the other one and you're in charge. So they say, okay, that's fine, and they leave. So the truth is, they don't want Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr to be the governor of Egypt. They want to remove Uthman. So when they left, the Muslims put their guard down and then suddenly they come back into Medina. Ali radiallahu anh asked them, I thought we agreed, we gave you what you wanted. Why did you come back again? So they say that they were journeying. This is the story they gave. They were journeying for 3 nights. Then they found a black servant boy striking his riding animal as if he's running away or chasing after someone. So you can imagine, as if someone's running after him and he's just beating his animal viciously, trying to run, to speed up. And they asked him, what is wrong? And the servant boy says, I have a letter from Amir al-Mu'mineen, meaning Uthman, to the governor of Egypt. So they told him, the governor of Egypt is with us, Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr. And he leaves them. Later on, they were surprised, so he leaves. Then they told Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr the story. He says, bring him, bring the boy. So they brought him, they went looking for him, they brought this boy and they brought him back. So Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr asks him, whose servant are you? And the boy says, this is how they narrate it. One time he would say, I'm the servant of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And then one time he would say, I'm the servant of Marwan ibn al-Hakam, the uncle of Uthman radiallahu anh. One man identified him. He says, I know him, he's the servant of Uthman. And they told him, who are you sent to? He says, I am sent to the governor of Egypt. With what? With a letter. Is the letter with you? No. It's kind of a strange narration. He's sent with a strange letter. And when they stop him, he says, I'm sent with a letter. And then when they stop him the next time, one time he's saying Amir al-Mu'mineen, one time he's saying Marwan. He could have said anything. If he's going actually sent with this letter from Uthman, he would have said a lie or avoided them. And then they ask him, with what are you sent? He says, with a letter. Then they ask, is it with you? He says, no. It doesn't make sense. If he were to lie, he would have thought of better responses than this. So then they searched his belongings and they found the letter and they took it out, and Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr read it out loud in front of everyone. And it says in the letter, if Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr and so and so and so and so, naming some people, come to you, then kill them. And disregard the letter he brings you. Because Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr was taking a letter to say, you're no longer the governor, Muhammad is the new governor. So this letter is telling him, disregard the letter that he's going to bring you, and remain in your position. Stay as the governor. And imprison all those who come complaining to me about you. So don't let anyone reach me. Imprison them if they're going to complain about you. Until further instructions, inshaAllah. We discussed Uthman radiallahu anhu. And does this sound like Uthman radiallahu anhu? He would do something so treacherous and have people killed. He's the one who refused the opinion that they should be killed. He says this is beyond the limits of the book of Allah. And here, they attribute such a letter to him. So then, he reads this letter and then they return to Medina and they gather the Sahaba and Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr reads it to them. So then, this is continuing on with that narration as we're taking. Ali and Talha and Zubair and Sa'd entered upon Uthman and they said, "Is this your boy, your servant?" And he said, "Yes." "Is this camel yours?" He said, "Yes." "Did you write this letter?" He says, "No." And he swore by Allah. And then some of them said they noticed that it was the writing of Marwan ibn al-Hakam. And this whole fiasco with the letter and this whole story was a lie, of course, that they made up. It was just an excuse to quickly come back into Medina while the people are not expecting it. Because Ali caught this lie, radiallahu anhu. And he said to them, "How did you come to know, the people of Kufa and Basra, of what happened to the people of Egypt, and discover that and after you were already a few days into your journey?" So what Ali radiallahu anhu is saying, he's asking them, the people of Egypt, they went in one direction, and the people of Kufa and Basra, they went in another direction, the opposite direction. And both are traveling for 3 days in opposite directions. So if after 3 days the people of Egypt catch this letter, how did they have time to inform the people of Basra and Kufa? The distance between them now is probably around 6 days between them. Right? So when they found this letter, they came back to Medina. So Ali is asking them, what brought the people of Kufa and Basra back? Because they were traveling in another direction. How did you have enough time to go to them and let them know of this letter and come back again? That would have taken you now at least 9 days. So he tells them, هَذَا وَاللَّهِ أَمْرٌ أُبْرِمَ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ. He tells them, by Allah, this is an affair that was prepared here in Medina. Before you left, you had prepared that after 3 days you're going to come back at the same time. So then, what did they tell Ali radiallahu anhu? They said, explain it however you want. They don't care. You caught us, you didn't catch us. We don't care, we're in charge, we're in control. They said, we don't want this man, so let him leave the Khilafah or abdicate. So the Sahaba were not able to oppose them now. They are in control of the city. And then Uthman leaves his home. So now they're in control of the city, but they still allow Uthman radiallahu anhu to leave his home and go for salah. So he goes and he leads the salah. And the people of Fitna are there and he leads them in salah. And then after the salah, he gathers the Sahaba and he tells them, do you want me to resign? If you suggest that I should resign, I will do it immediately. And he has no particular love for the Khilafah or anything. So then Ali and Talha and Zubair and Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas and Abdullah ibn Abbas, all of them say, don't do it. These people, they're not worth it. They all said, don't do it. This is against what people say, Ali wanted the Khilafah radiallahu anhu. All of them said, don't leave, don't resign. And Abdullah ibn Abbas says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, لا تنزع قميصا قمسك الله إياه. That do not remove a shirt, a garment that Allah has clothed you with. So he's telling him that, is it every time that people are angry with the Khalifa that they remove him? It just becomes a joke then, the Khilafah. So then Uthman says, لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. So the result of the consultation with the Sahaba, with no exception, that he should not resign. So he decides to remain in his position. So when Uthman saw the people of Medina not able to do anything, what did he do? He wrote messages in secret and sent them. While the people of Fitna were waiting for his decision, he sent messages to each wilaya, each major city. And these messages are preserved in the books of history and details of what he sent to this province and to that province. And these messengers reached Al-Amsar. Al-Amsar are the plural of Misr. Misr is actually just a large city. So when we say the Amsar, with a meme, Amsar, not like the Muhajirin and Ansar. The Amsar, it means Al-Kufa, Basra, Al-Sham, the places, Al-Sham, Egypt, all these places. The first to send an army was Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan. Immediately sent a quick army, put it together, and send it out while he's putting together a larger army, because it takes more time. So he sends a small army in advance and he's preparing a large army. And then Abdullah ibn Sa'd ibn Abi Sarh in Egypt sends an army under Muawiyah ibn Khudayj al-Sukuni. And in Kufa, Al-Qa'qa' ibn Amr, a man equal to 1,000 warriors, he gathers some warriors and he led them himself, and he orders some of the Sahaba with them to encourage the people and to arrange the rest of the town to prepare another large army. And he advances ahead. And of those who encouraged and prepared the army were Uqba ibn Amr, companions who stayed in Kufa, encouraging the people to join the army. Uqba ibn Amr and Abdullah ibn Abi Awfa and Handala ibn Rabi' al-Tamimi from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. They started to gather the people. They would walk around the town, going to gatherings, going to public places, saying, "Oh people, the speech is the speech of today and not of tomorrow. And we have to look into this affair today and not tomorrow. And the fighting is halal today and it's haram tomorrow. Rush to your Khalifa." So they're going around Al-Kufa and they're encouraging people to join the armies, to go save the Khalifa. That now the city, the holy city of the Prophet ﷺ is besieged and these troublemakers are in control. So they're gathering people. Armies start to pour from all around the Muslim Ummah. And the same with Al-Basra, and the same with Al-Sham, all these people, all the Sahaba, heading out to save the Khalifa of the Muslims. So while these armies were being gathered, events were unfurling in Medina. On the first day, this is on the first Friday, since the Thuwar, or the people of Fitna, the rebels, this is the first Friday since they came and entered Medina. Uthman enters the masjid to give the khutbah. He gets up on the minbar and he praises Allah and he sends the salah and salam upon his messenger Muhammad. And then he says, Ya ha'ula al-uda, O you enemies or people who transgressed against us. Allah, Allah, by Allah the people of Medina know that you are cursed upon the tongue of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So erase your mistakes with that which is correct, for verily Allah does not erase the bad deeds except with good. So then Muhammad ibn Maslama got up and said, and I bear witness to that. He wants the people to start the fighting now. He gets up and he says, and I bear witness to that. And then Zayd ibn Thabit gets up and he says that he is ready to swear upon that. So then the people of Fitna felt that they're going to lose control. People now are starting to outwardly oppose them. So Hukaym ibn Jabal, the thief, got up to Muhammad ibn Maslama with the sword and forced him to sit down. And Muhammad ibn Abi Qutayra raised the sword to Zayd ibn Thabit and forced him to sit down. And then they cursed at them. They're Sahaba. They're cursing at the Sahaba. Cursed and cussed at them excessively. So tempers flared. Everyone gets up in the masjid. And the people of Fitna got up with their swords. And the Sahaba are not allowed to carry swords. So they start to throw stones at them. And the people of Fitna are hitting them. And they start to throw stones back at them. And one of the stones that were being thrown around struck Uthman radiallahu anhu. And he's an old man, 83 years old. And he fell unconscious and he was carried to his home. Such disrespect for the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ, for the city of the Prophet ﷺ, for the Khalifa of the Muslims, and for the Sahaba. So Ali and Talha and Zubair entered upon Uthman radiallahu anhu. They wanted to visit him while he was sick and to consult with him also. So Uthman commands him to do nothing. And we said before, he knew the details that he's going to be killed and that it's a fitna. So he tells them, don't do anything. Just wait for the armies that are approaching. We can't do anything, we're powerless. And Uthman radiallahu anhu also feared that the Sahaba in their enthusiasm would resist and then get killed, and large numbers of the Sahaba, and we said before that how valuable they are, that large numbers of Sahaba would get killed. So he gathered all the people in the masjid and he gave them his last khutbah before he was murdered. And he says some beautiful words. He begins and he praises Allah and he sends the salah upon his messenger. And then he says, verily, Allah has given you the dunya, so you may seek with it the hereafter, the akhirah. Wonderful meanings. He's telling them, Allah is giving you this dunya, so you can with it, use it to get to the hereafter. And He did not give it to you so you could be attached to it. Verily the dunya fades away and the akhirah remains. So do not be fooled by that which fades away, and don't let it divert you from that which remains. So prefer that which remains over that which fades, for the dunya ends and the journey is to Allah. Fear Allah, for taqwa of Him is a protection from His punishment and a way to Him, and beware of Allah's ghirah, meaning don't approach His sanctified places and things that He's made haram. And stick with the jama'ah and don't become ahzab, don't become split into groups and factions. And mention the blessing of Allah upon you as you were enemies. So He united your hearts and you became through His blessing brothers. He's mentioning the ayah. So then he tells them, so go out, may Allah have mercy on you, and leave my doors. He's telling them, no protection. No one to protect me, and no one to lift the sword. And he calls Talha and Zubair and Ali, and they come and he tells everyone to sit down. So they all sit down. And then he says, O people of Medina. This is still in the masjid. He has everyone sit down. He says, O people of Medina, I bid you farewell. Bidding them farewell, he knows it's the end. And I ask him, meaning Allah, to give you a good Khalifa after me. And by Allah, I will not let anyone enter upon me after this day until Allah decrees His judgment on me. And I will leave those, meaning the people of Fitna, I will not give them anything from what they have asked. Not the deen, not the dunya. They're not going to get anything from me. Until Allah does what He wants with this affair. And He insists on the people of Medina to go back home, and He swore by Allah that they will. He swears to them by Allah, you're going to go home, no one's going to bear arms, no one's going to resist. If anyone sees I have any right over them, He's telling them, if you feel I have any right over you as your Khalifa, you will not carry a weapon. And this, of course, explains why the Sahaba did not defend him until his death. Some people use this to say they wanted him to die. We can't expect this from the companions of the Prophet ﷺ. So everyone goes home. But the Sahaba didn't want to leave him unprotected. So Ali radiallahu anhu sent Al-Hasan and Al-Husayn. And he tells them, remain in his courtyard, to stay in his yard. And they took weapons and they stayed there. And then Zubair ibn al-Awwam sent his son, the warrior, Abdullah ibn Zubair. And Talha ibn Ubaidullah sent his son, Muhammad. And others of the Sahaba sent. So now we have a number of the young Sahaba, and we should refer to them as the young Sahaba, are in the courtyard of Uthman radiallahu anhu with weapons, and the people of Fitna are outside of the house, and Uthman radiallahu anhu is inside the house. So now news reaches the people of Fitna of the armies that are coming to save Medina. So they have a meeting. The people of Fitna, they have a meeting, they say, what should we do? Because now an army is coming to destroy them. They say, if they reach us, we're dead. The only solution is to kill Uthman. If we kill Uthman radiallahu anhu, there's going to be a mess, there's not going to be a Khalifa, there's not going to be anyone in charge, and within this commotion we can escape. But if we pull out, just right now leave and pull out, they're going to catch up to us and they were going to kill us. And if we remain and don't kill them, they're going to kill us. So the only solution, still no other solution, the only way is to kill Uthman. So they all agreed upon that. We're up to, at this point, 18 days of them controlling Medina. And the armies are on their way. And the 18th day was on the day of this decision, when they decided to kill Uthman. And they encircled the house of Uthman radiallahu anhu. And they said the best thing is to let him die alone. Because at the same time they're crafty and they're trying to come up with a plan. So they said the best thing is not to kill him so as we literally have his blood on our hands. The best thing is to let him die alone. And what's the only way we can do that so that they don't come after us? To prevent him from drinking water. And you know when someone doesn't drink water, in 3 days they can die. So the first day, Uthman radiallahu anhu has no water to drink, and he's patient upon that. And the second day he has no water. And his house was attached to his neighbor's house, is Amr ibn Hazm. So he sent to them saying, assist us, send us some water. But they didn't have enough water. And some narrations will tell you they gave him water, salty water. Which of course doesn't solve anything. It makes the situation worse. So he says, inform Ali and the mothers of the believers. So they informed everyone. So Ali, immediately as he is told, he comes to soften the hearts of the people of Fitna. He comes to them at night and he talks to them. He talks to their leaders. Ya ayyuhan nas, he says, O people, what you're doing doesn't resemble the actions of the Muslims nor that of the non-Muslims. He tells them, don't prevent the man from water. Verily the Romans and the Persians, when they capture the enemy, they feed them and they give them water. He tells them, what has he done to you so that you treat him in this treatment? And he's always being lenient to them. He's not punished them. And he's telling them, he orders the people not to take up arms against you, not to resist you. What else do you want? So in what do you make besieging and killing him halal? They said, no, by Allah. We will not let him eat nor drink. So Ali radiallahu anhu saw that they're not going to allow him to drink. And he did all that he could. So he took off his turban and he threw it into the courtyard of Uthman radiallahu anhu. He had a turban that he wore. It was well known that it was his turban. So when the young Sahaba saw it, we said the ones who were guarding Uthman, when they saw it, they understood that Ali was here, and obviously he tried to do something about the water situation. The mothers of believers hear of this. Of the mothers of the believers, Safiya radiallahu anha, she came on a mule and she brought water under her garment for Uthman radiallahu anhu. So when the people saw her, they opened the path for her. Because the mothers of the believers had a special place in the hearts of the Muslims. So when they saw her approaching, they all opened the path for her, and she got all the way to the door. And then one of the people of Fitna stood in front of her. And he tells her, "What is with you?" And she says, "I am Safiya, the mother of the believers, and I am here to see Uthman." Then he asks her, "What is with you?" And she doesn't answer. And he uncovers the garment, and he finds like a pot of water, and he hits it and he breaks it. And he gets so mad, he hits the mule, the face of the mule, so that it turns and it starts running. And the mother of the believer, Safiya radiallahu anha, almost fell off the mule, had it not been for some people who were able to stop the animal.